Welcome into We Know Ball. I'm Connor Fuchsa.
I'm Alyssa Brandon.
And I'm Mason Belial.
Now, this is our second episode. Last week we were in the studio. This week we got a different home for the week. We're in this little radio booth, but it's still going to be a good show. We're still going to kick it off with some football, and there was some Thursday night football last night.
Oh, yeah.
Division rivals, Bills, Dolphins. Bills absolutely destroyed the Dolphins. What were y'all's thoughts from the game?
I was just honestly overall shocked. I mean, we know Tua went out closer to the end, but I was overall shocked just about how limited the Miami offense looked, considering all the weapons they have, and we didn't know how the Bills' defense would pan out. I was honestly shocked. They could not get the ball moving at all.
Yeah. Honestly, it was the turnovers. That's what the big part was. Like it was big part to the turnovers from Tua. Obviously, that first interception was not his fault at all. It went off the Dolphins' tight end's just shoulder. Like he just wasn't even looking for some reason. But then that second pick, the miscommunication with Chosen Anderson, and then the third pick was really bad. It was just the turnovers. Anytime they got any momentum going, it got shut down by a turnover.
Yeah. I mean, I also feel bad for Tua because, I mean, what is this, his fourth concussion?
It's his third in the NFL. I don't know about if he had one in college or high school, but it's his third in NFL.
There's been some minor issues, so it could be fourth.
Yeah,
but the top headlines this morning are retirement for Tua. I mean, it's become a serious thing nowadays. Like you've seen Antonio Brown with CTE, ESPN, and I just don't want to see him end up bad off. So I'm thinking retirement for Tua.
Really?
Yeah.
Mason, this is exactly what I was.
No, we were both talking about this pre-show. Yeah.
I have a hard time with people saying, kind of suggesting that he should retire. And I know you're not telling him to, but also
he's not going to see this.
I know. But the man is his own man.
Yeah.
And you don't want to put any doubts into his head, and doubts that kind of would make him go out on the field maybe next time and then not play as well or blah, blah, blah. All just this media attention, I think, is kind of a little bit... I'm sure it's toxic for him, and I'm sure it's hard to deal with because this is... I mean, it's career or not. It's not life or death, but it's real, and he's a real guy.
It's his life outside of football or death. His brain could have serious damage.
And don't get me wrong. People have said this is a serious issue for him. I remember Josh Allen post game even last night was I know the guy's history and what he's been through. So these concussions are no small deal to him. But I just honestly really hope that he is able to just make the decision that's best for him. And if retirement's not even in the picture for him, I hope he doesn't listen to anyone saying it is.
I mean, that's what Coach Mike said about it. That should be the last thing on his mind. But also, we think back to the past, and he got a concussion. He came back the next week or 2 weeks later.
In 2022?
Yeah.
And
then got another
one.
Yeah.
So and then missed 3 weeks, and he missed the playoff game. Skylar Thompson started in that playoff game.
Yeah, and that's what was the Dolphins' downfall in that playoff game.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think the biggest focus for me right now is just his health. It doesn't matter about the field point of view, anything fantasy, NFL. I just want this man to be healthy. I just want him to do the best decision for his career and for his family and just for everything. And so if that is him deciding that retirement is an option, we'll see. But I think everyone is jumping the gun too quick. We don't even know what the diagnosis has been. We don't know if it's just a minor concussion, if it's major, what implications it's having, what doctors are saying to him, what his family's saying. None of us know what's going on in his head besides him, and he has obviously not spoken out. So I feel for right now, the only thing we can do is just hope the best for him and just see what happens.
Yeah.
But I do want to introduce some debate with this, though, not about Tua specifically and about his injury, but about the Guardian caps. So now this season is the first season with the Guardian caps introduced. Obviously, they got a lot of flack because they don't look cool, but now we're 2 weeks into the season and a major quarterback's down with his third concussion. What are y'all's opinions on the Guardian caps?
I think, like you said, it doesn't look cool. We all know that. We all could sit here and make fun of it. It looks a little embarrassing. But I think, honestly, looking at injuries like this and kind of setting your pride aside and being okay, do I want the 40 years after my NFL career to be maybe experiencing CTE, to be experiencing lifelong damages, or do I just wear this dumb little helmet and maybe I'm actually fine for the rest of my life? Is it really that serious? Are aesthetics that big of a deal? No. I think if this is an issue for people and if they know that they're maybe more prone to concussions too, just wear it. Literally just wear it and maybe have a better life after your career.
I think this is a temporary fix the Guardian caps because we're improving on the technology of the helmets, like especially with the new Vices helmets with like, the improved technology to stop head trauma and concussions. But I just think when we get in the future, we don't need the Guardian caps anymore because we'll have better helmets.
Yeah.
So I just think this is like a temporary fix for the NFL to be like, hey, we're trying to do something about it.
Yeah. I'm just going to be honest. I don't understand why it matters what the look is on a player. I get they care about that. And even like J.J. Watt was coming out talking like trash on it. Like, I'm not going to wear that if he was still in the league.
It's for sissy boys.
Exactly. But like, I don't get that. Like, it's for your health. It's for your protection. Like the Titans player that came out, like I forgot his name now, that's been on TikTok, like going viral for it, talking about why he is wearing it. It's because he wants to have a family. Like, he wants to have a life out. Football will last some of these guys till they're 30. Some of these guys, if they're lucky, till they're 40. You've got plenty of life left after that. And you don't want CTE. You don't want your families to be affected. You don't want your brain, your health to die younger, maybe, too. Like, all these issues just to wear a little covering over your head, like, why should it matter?
Yeah.
Now, I get it maybe for linemen, D linemen, maybe even defensive players, sure, they don't need to wear it. But those skill players on offense need to be wearing Guardian caps.
Yeah. And honestly, like, what's kind of sad is, like, there are a lot of those, like, skill players are, like, the wide receiver guys who have, like, huge Instagram following and post their pictures of them in the end zone after scoring. And maybe they're all like, yeah, I don't want that other cap in my picture. But, I mean, suck it up. Just wear it.
Like, no one's going to knock. No one, I mean, people will knock you, I guess, but no one should be knocking you for that.
Honestly, though, I don't think those skill players, they're not going to wear them. They're never going to wear them.
No.
Unless they're required. Unless the NFL steps in and, like, we've had too many injuries. Like, we need to, like, have people wear these.
And that, honestly, this is a greater discussion, but that just speaks to our world's issue with being so focused on our image. But that's a different podcast.
Yeah, no, for real. But now let's move on from the Guardian cap debate. Let's move on to it. Before we go to a different game, let's talk about Devon Achane. Let's talk about James Cook. Both of them went off last night. It was a battle of the running backs out there in Miami last night. Achane, fantasy-wise, 29 points. Cook, 28. Cook gets 3 touchdowns. Last year and the year before, had 2 touchdowns on the season, rushing touchdowns.
Wow.
Had 2 rushing touchdowns last night alone, 3 touchdowns with the receiving. What do y'all think about Cook just being more involved in this offense?
I think he's insane, and I'm so excited for what he's going to do for the Bills' offense this year, especially because he's on my fantasy team. But I'm just excited because he really is, like, that offense's go-to guy outside of Josh Allen because, as we know, Josh Allen does not have those big receivers anymore like Stephon Diggs, whatever. He's their number one reliable guy. And honestly, I think that suits their offense better just because Josh Allen is so focused on his own rushing attack that it's easier to hand the ball off rather than like making those big plays down the field. So I'm really excited, and I think he's going to continue to break out this year and maybe end the year with like 20 touchdowns. I don't know.
Well, you know, I was a Devon Achane lover last year. You remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
I drafted him because I always draft like this rookie that no one knows really much about. And at the time, I was an A&M fan. He coming from A&M. It's like, okay, I'll pick him up. He got like 30 points one week.
He got 50 one week.
Exactly.
Like, it was against that Broncos game.
Yeah, he had some injury problems last year, but now he's looking better than ever. And I'm so proud of him, and I'm very mad that I didn't pick him this year.
I'm really happy because I did. Everyone was so scared of the injury concerns with him that I picked him in like 3 or 4 leagues this year. Now, I'm mad because in one of them I did bench him last night because I was like, oh, he's injured. He might not go off. Now, they literally fed him the ball the entire game. Like, that first drive alone, I feel like that was a statement from McDaniel. Like, you guys thought this guy was hurt? Watch us run him 10 times. Like, he got, I mean, I don't know how many touches he ended up with, but it was probably close to at least 20 last night. I know he got like 8 catches. Actually, no, I think he had 25 carries alone. So I think he had over 30 touches last night. Like, injured for what? He was not injured at all. He was healthy out there.
I think the Miami backfield is like the one fantasy exception to like a backfield being crowded and being like, yeah, we can't play these guys, or yeah, they're injured. No. Every time either Mostert's may be injured, Achane's may be injured, or you're just concerned that those two are sharing the backfield together and aren't going to get it each enough carries. Nope, they are. They are. They'll get it somehow, and that doesn't apply to anywhere else except Miami.
Yeah, but now let's move on from Thursday Night Football. We've talked a lot about Thursday night. Let's go back to last weekend. Let's talk about the first week in the NFL season. Obviously, last show we only got to cover Thursday night, which was that Chiefs versus Ravens game. Let's start with your team, I guess. We'll start with the biggest collapse of the weekend. The Patriots somehow upsetting the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, it's 2 years in a row the Bengals have just fallen apart at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
I'll let you just start with this, Mason.
Well, last week, the Bengals are in my Super Bowl. Sorry.
It's all right.
The Bengals are in my Super Bowl, so that definitely was very scary.
Yeah.
But for my Patriots, I'm so happy. Gerard Mayo getting his first head coach win. First Patriots head coach to get that since 1991. So I'm really excited for him and really happy to see what he does in the next coming games and the rest of the season. But I'm thinking back to, we don't have a lot of options on offense, and to see Ramondre Stevenson like just dominant, be like, yeah, I'll take this role of like the leader of this offense, and he went off.
I mean, yeah, 25 carries, 120 yards, 1 touchdown, and that's just on the ground, not even counting some of the receiving volume he got. So Stevenson really was the offense. The concerning part to me, though, was the Bengals offense. Obviously, only scoring 10 points, but you'd expect in an outing like this, an upset like this, it was probably a turnover frenzy. It was probably, Burrow 3 interceptions. They had a lot of fumbles. I mean, they did have 2 fumbles, but Burrow didn't turn over the ball, nothing like that. They just genuinely just couldn't move the ball. They'd get maybe a first down or 2, punt.
Yeah.
Get a couple, when they did start driving, fumble. And then just a lot of just punting. They really just couldn't get an offense going.
Yeah. I'm honestly shocked about Joe Burrow just kind of having that kind of performance because, I mean, there were questions coming into the season as far as like his injury status and all that, but I literally just expected better from him. I think maybe this is, like you said, it is a thing that has happened with the Bengals offense before, that they have these. This has been like 3 years in a row now that they've probably started like 0-3 or something, or 0-2. Like, it seems like they just have these stumbles at the beginning. Mind you, that's no excuse, but I really hope to me, it just seems that there's no way Joe Burrow can't settle in and pass the ball off to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Like, I just don't see how it's not going to happen eventually. So I'm not that concerned. I'm more concerned, honestly, that there's questions on their receiving and rushing, because Zach Moss, I mean, he was there, but there was like barely any volume. Like, he had, I think, 9 touches, 66 yards, and then Chase Brown had like 2 touches or something.
Zach
and, like,
Moss has never been that good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's just,
I mean,
like,
he was behind an Indy O-line last year. Like,
Right.
that's what he benefited from, the fact that he got to be behind one of the best O-lines in the league. Now he's on Cincinnati's one of the worst O-lines in the league. He's not going to do much.
I think they're just kind of in shock from not having Joe Mixon in their league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
They
then
don't
Mixon,
know.
in turn, goes for like a crazy
Literally.
game with Houston in his first appearance.
Yeah, I'm just happy the Patriots defense didn't fall apart after losing Judon.
Yeah.
I honestly thought that's what was going to
That's-
happen.
I'm literally
And
just
Christian
shocked.
Bartmore with the blood clots.
I mean, I think that just shows testament to Mayo. Like,
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
the new coach, he got a new staff in there with a new DC and everything. And I think, as much as not saying, I mean, Belichick's one of the greatest, if not the greatest coach of all time. I'm not saying it's an upgrade by any means, but defensively, he knows how to get a defense going. He knows how to rally a defense, and he's played before. And that's just huge. That's just huge experience for a coaching staff.
Yeah, previous linebacker and previous linebackers coach.
Yeah, so he's definitely gonna get that defense right. But also, I'm not gonna lie, I'm putting a little bit of the blame from this week on Jamar Chase. All of his holdout stuff
Yeah.
preseason, like it really was just very like distracting for the
Yeah.
team. And now obviously T. Higgins was out week 1. So it's just a very distracting environment for the Bengals to go into this first season game where Chase, basically, we didn't even know if he was playing until
Yeah.
the morning of that he was going to play in this game. Higgins didn't play, the new running backs. It was a lot of change. So I'll give the Bengals a little bit of slack there. But now they got to go face the Chiefs. It's not
Yeah.
like they get some. That was their off week. They're supposed to be their off week. That was supposed to be their easy win, start the season, then it gets tougher. No, you lose to the Patriots now, you can go 0-2, and then your season starts off rough.
Yeah, they're not going to get a win till week 3. Like, basically next week is honestly a wash for them. I don't see
Yeah.
them adjusting that much to be able to beat the Chiefs. So week 3 is their next opportunity, honestly, right now.
Hey, Connor, how's that Survivor League going?
I picked the Bengals. I picked the
You
Bengals. I
picked the
hate to say it. I in my family Survivor League, I went out there and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna play it safe week 1. I usually go risky, and I'm like, I'm gonna go safe. Bengals. That was not safe. I was the only one. I was one of the only 2 people out. The other guy out also picked the Bengals. So
To do like comparisons, the Bengals are kind of like Florida State of college football.
true. Ooh. Okay.
Is this a new segment comparing NFL teams?
Oh
to
wait,
college
okay,
football
hold
teams?
up. Different week. We're
That
doing
could
that.
cook.
We 100%
Pacers,
need to do
Alabama,
that.
both dynasties are falling.
Oh,
But I would say Alabama is still a top 6 team in the country, and Patriots are
Valid.
bottom 6. I don't
Not
care.
after this
I don't
week.
care that they beat the Bengals. They are still a bottom 6 team. Their quarterback
after
is
this
Jacoby Brissett or Drake May.
You know what? I'd much rather Drake May.
I agree. Once I can't
when do
actually
you think
knock
he'll
too much.
start?
Week 5.
Week
Okay,
5? Okay. Do you know who that matchup is, or are you just saying, like,
No,
time
I'm just
ties?
like talking about like how Jacoby Brissett is going to do. He's not going to do
Yeah.
great. I mean, he only had 120 passing yards in that win.
Yeah. I will say, though, I actually really do respect them for doing that. Like, sometimes you rush, especially, again, no offense,
Oh,
Patriots are, the Patriots are a bad situation for a rookie quarterback to go into.
Yeah.
Rushing them in doesn't do anything for them. I'm
Right.
glad they're giving him some time to just ease in, watch from the sidelines, go through some NFL practices before they throw him into the water.
Yeah. Like I said, Bo Nix got thrown in there. Did not do well.
Did not do anything. But we'll get to the other rookie quarterbacks in a minute. Let's go to the maybe best quarterback in the league. You know, Dak Prescott, highest paid. I'm kidding. He's not the best quarterback in the league. But now the highest paid NFL player of all time. 4 years, $240 million. Like 95% of that's guaranteed money. The Cowboys now have the number 1 quarterback and the number 2 wide receiver payment-wise. I'm not saying he's number 1 quarterback in the league, obviously.
He could be.
But there's a lot of controversy on this contract. And I know there's a lot of Cowboys fans that obviously love to hate on Dak too. I'm not one of them, so I love Dak. But we'll get into that in a second. What are y'all's opinions on the Dak contract?
As a Cowboys fan, I was honestly just relieved when I saw the notification because, like you said, I'm Team Dak. I'm Team he gets us to the playoffs every year. The fact that we're losing the playoffs really isn't his fault. But I think he's a good quarterback, and so I was just relieved and honestly really glad that it happened right like before the games actually started because he came out in the media. He wasn't necessarily knocking Jerry, but he said he'd be disappointed if it didn't happen before the season actually started because that's just a reflection of the Joneses' just view of Prescott and what they're thinking going forward. So it was a sign of respect to me to honestly get that deal done. And so I'm feeling really, really, really relieved that we just have that done and over with.
You relieved you're going to be first round exit?
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah, you know
Exits
what? Point
in the
invalid.
Like I
Exits
said,
in the playoffs?
name literally any other quarterback right now that could take us further that's in the league.
Patrick
That's a
Mahomes.
free agent.
Oh,
That's a free agent.
Yeah.
No, you
one-
didn't say that. You didn't say that.
But they're honestly they're not any other better options at this point.
Yeah, like I think people are just too quick to say like, "Oh, get rid of Dak. He's been a problem." Maybe he has. I mean, again, I'm not going to say he didn't suck in that Packers game. Yes, the defense sucked. He threw 2 pick sixes. Like that's not even a question. Like he did have a bad game in that playoff game, but it's not like top 5 quarterbacks just grow on trees.
Exactly.
Like we're not going to luck. I mean, again, Romo was a pretty good quarterback, but even Romo wasn't going to get us anywhere. I can see a potential where Dak can take this team eventually on a deep playoff run. Romo, obviously, he almost had that one. Des caught it. We know that. But, like, outside of that, he had a better supporting cast than Dak. But we'll get into that a different day. But Dak Prescott, in my opinion, top 5. I mean, I have him at 5. But most people at least consensusly can agree a top 10 quarterback.
Correct.
Yeah, but okay.
And I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but real quick, compare it also to the other top 10 paid quarterbacks. Like, if you're looking at the list, like, it's not like he's getting paid over, like, he just jumped. Mahomes was 1 and Allen was 2. Like, the top quarterbacks are Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love, and then Burrow, obviously. There's, like, Kyler Murray's in that list.
He deserves more than that.
Exactly. Deshaun Watson was in that list. We'll get into Watson in a second. Like, there's so many, like, not bad, but, like, worst quarterbacks in that top 10 list. And then also, people just don't understand how the market works. He's the top paid quarterback right now. By next offseason, he'll be the 4th highest paid. And then by the offseason after that, he'll be the 6th. And by the time his contract's up, he'll be the 10th.
Yeah.
So the deal, obviously, up front always looks a little rough. But by the time that's over, it's going to look like an amazing deal.
That's what I was trying to say. Like, the caps on these NFL teams, they keep increasing each year by year. And it's just going to keep going up and up.
Yeah.
These quarterbacks are going to cost, in 20 years, maybe $1 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the NFL is growing more than it really ever has. Shout out Taylor Swift. Not that that's all the whole reason, but it's part of it. It's growing more than it ever has, and so therefore they're making more money. Therefore, the salary cap can keep going up. So right now it's feasible, but I mean, there's been talks of them creating like their own separate cap just for quarterbacks because of how insane just the volume is for that one position, which honestly is fair. I mean, it's a hard job, but I mean, we're talking millions and millions and millions and millions and millions. It's insane.
Yeah. No, 100%. But now, we talked about Dak for a minute. Let's get into just the Cowboys game as a whole. Cowboys go out, dominate the Browns. Deshaun Watson, that offense looked absolutely terrible. Mike Zimmer's new defense coordinator for the Cowboys looked amazing on defense. What are y'all's biggest takeaways from that Cowboys-Browns game?
Deshaun Watson is not good.
But, like, I will say, Watson sucked in that game, 100%. But I feel like a lot of people aren't giving enough credit to that Cowboys defense.
That's my big takeaway is that our defensive line looked like insane, like top 3 in the NFL. And I think they will be. I think they will finish as top 3. And that's just honestly a testament to what Mike Zimmer's done, because it's not like we got a ton of new guys. I mean, we have the rookie that we got, Deshaun Nealon, I think is his name, and he did a good job. But it's not a ton of new guys. Mike Zimmer is just totally changing that defense around.
Yeah, and I feel like the big testament for the Cowboys is somehow we just keep drafting corners that are really good at football. You get Diggs. Diggs goes down last year. You draft Bland. Bland steps up, does really good. Now Bland goes down this year, and Carson already looked like $1 million on defense this week. Like, he was doing great when he did he honestly, as a rookie, getting matched up against Amari Cooper in your first week is not great. Now, he wasn't on him all game, obviously, but these reps he had against Cooper looked really good.
Yeah.
So, like, just getting another great corner. Eric Kendricks looked like, I feel like a lot of people worried he's too old. He honestly, by the Cowboys standards, they posted he was their player of the week for this week. Like, he had a really good game. And then finally, Micah just being used as the best player on our defense. Like, I feel like last year was like, oh, Micah, go do your thing, we'll worry about the rest of the defense. It felt like this game, Zimmer had a game plan specifically for Micah. Like, how are we going to get you to disrupt this game and to be a living nightmare for Watson? And that's what it was.
Yeah, the Browns have a highly touted defense, and I feel like Dak Prescott and the Cowboys just cut up that defense.
100%.
Yeah, but I think, your point about Deshaun Watson is completely still valid, though. He had a very rough game, and honestly, like, a lot of people were looking for him to come back and kind of be the player he was in Houston. And if that's what, like, if game 1 is a reflection of what he's going to be for the rest of the season, I would be seriously scared to be a Cleveland Browns fan.
Oh, 100%. And now that Njoku's down
Flacco
too.
back.
Yeah, you need Joe Flacco. Honestly, I had actually high expectations. We know this last week on the show. I said the Browns were going to be the 5 seed. Like, I had high expectations for the fact that if Flacco could take this team to the playoffs, that defense will be good enough, that Watson can be good enough until Chubb gets back and that offense will get rolling. I don't know now.
Mind you, we're not even talking about all the off-field issues.
Oh, yeah, another
we
lawsuit.
don't even know if
lawsuit.
he's going to be, like, eligible to play later in the season. So.
Yeah, no, it's bad. We just
Don't bet on the Browns right now. That's all I'll say.
I apologize for betting on the Browns, and I apologize for betting on the Bengals. Those 2 picks are not aging. Those are aging like milk right now. It is not.
Any team that starts with B, just stay away from it.
Exactly. But now, let's move on. We've spent 20 minutes of the show talking about this past week. We're going to hit one more thing before we move on to this week. Let's talk about the rookies. Now, this rookie class was very, very, very much hyped up. Like Marvin Harrison Jr., Neighbors, all the wide receivers, Odunze, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, all those. And I feel like everyone had too high of an expectation for them week 1 because they are still rookies. And everyone was expecting them to go out there, like Marvin Harrison to go out and get 100 yards week 1. Or Caleb Williams to go out there and throw for 300 week 1. Stuff like that. And that's not what happened. Caleb Williams had 93 yards, no touchdowns. Marvin Harrison, that 1 catch for 4 yards. Bo Nix had a bad game. Jaden Daniels had a good game on the ground, but not a great passing game. Really the only rookie that did skill player that did good in that top 10, 15 range was Neighbors, and it wasn't even amazing.
Or Bowers. Bowers
did have a pretty good game, too.
Yeah, Bowers did.
So
honestly, I think Bowers had a better game than Neighbors. So
yeah. So what are y'all's thoughts about this rookie class, and it's like just being patient with them?
I think it's the exact same thing you said. I think there's a lot of people freaking out right now, especially about Marvin Harrison. And I think it's like you said, some people get in there, they click right away, and they're gone. 99% of the time, rookies come in, and it takes a game or 2 for them to settle in. And especially with the wide receiver building a connection with the quarterback, I'm honestly not worried about Marvin Harrison at all. And I don't really like that all offseason what is being like the hype around him is so like creating such big pressure around his name that like of course he's going to underperform to your standards because you've hyped him up as this generational best wide receiver ever, blah blah blah, and people aren't being realistic about the jump from college football to the NFL, that maybe sometimes it does take time. Now I'm not saying that performance, him only getting 1 target, is not promising, but I think Kyler's going to get the opportunities to throw him the ball more. It's not like they have a ton of other options, so I'm not really worried about that. As far as the other rookies, I think Caleb Williams still had a decent game, so I'm not really worried about him either. But
your Titans defense looked good against it.
Yeah, that defense did look good. But, I mean, like I said before, the Bo Nix thing, Marvin Harrison, I'll get to him a little bit later because I have some select words for him.
Okay.
But, yeah, like you said, they are overhyped. But I think that they still kind of underperformed.
Yeah.
Especially because this has been a highly touted wide receiver class just in general. And then quarterbacks too, with Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. Didn't even start.
Right.
Yeah.
But I just feel like when you get these rookies, any sort of like, you give Bo Nix an open pass, you give Malik Neighbors an open route, like they can do good. They can do well.
Yeah.
Bo Nix can hopefully make that throw. But it's just you can't overreact.
Yeah.
You can't overreact with these rookies. Not yet, because again, jump to NFL, way different than college.
Right.
Yeah. Also, I think last night actually really helped Marvin Harrison's case. The Bills' secondary looked good. Like, Tyreek Hill didn't get much on them last night. Jalen Waddle didn't have a great... And then, like, Tua played all the way through the middle of the third quarter, and neither of them were really getting much volume. However, Achane was running really well, which is what the Cardinals did last week. They ran the ball on the Bills. James Conner had a great game. Kyler Murray had a great game scrambling. And so I feel like that game also showed a little bit. Maybe the Bills' secondary is just better than we've been giving them credit, and that also paid a little bit of dividends to Marvin Harrison's bad game. But I heard you say it, and we've talked about it already, about the do not overreact thing.
Yeah.
So let's get into a segment called Do Not Overreact. We did it last year after week 1 on the Fantasy Football Show, so let's get into it for this year. Now, obviously, we know with rookies, don't overreact because they take some time to develop. But a lot of people love to overreact on the actual NFL players themselves after week 1. So I just want to get into a couple of stats from last year as to basically say why not, and then we're going to go through a couple of players that performed bad this first week and whether or not you should be worried about them or not. So first off, let's just go through a couple of big names last year. Dak and CD this week didn't have a great game, so obviously the team just wasn't a blowout. Same thing happened last year. Dak Prescott got 6.3 fantasy points last year. He is the QB3.
Wow.
CD, 10 points last year, week 1. Guess what? He was the best player in all of fantasy football. DJ Moore last year, 4 points. This week, he also had 4 points. Wide receiver 6. So there's a lot of stuff. Even Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, both had less than 12 fantasy points last year. QB1 and QB2 for fantasy football last year. And even Trey McBride, again, another rookie, 3 points week 1, tied in 7 on the season. Really, the biggest thing about what I'm saying right now is we just need to not overreact as a community as to what happened week 1. There's going to be some stars like Amon-Ra St. Brown, stuff like that have bad games that are going to end up at that high level. And there's going to be some guys that go off for 30 points week 1 that are going to come back down to earth. So let's go through a couple guys real quick that I've written down, how their week 1 performances, and if y'all are actually worried about them or if it's just a bad week. Let's start with Chris Olave. That Saints offense looked electric. They looked amazing. They scored, 48 points or something like that? He only had 3.1 fantasy points, though. Are you worried because the offense did do good and he wasn't involved? Or, again, is that just a random week and he's going to get it back together?
I will say for Chris Olave, I'm not necessarily worried as in, like, he's not going to put up decent production this year, but I'm worried that he's not going to put up the production that people projected him to put up. Because, I mean, even if we're just talking about fantasy drafts, he was going, like, very, very early, probably in, like, 2nd round, 3rd round, like, honestly, way higher than I thought he should be going, and that concerned me at the beginning. So I think people have him rated really, really high coming into the season, and I do think he's going to underperform in that category. But looking at a 3.1 week 1 performance, like you've said, we've seen historically, like, this doesn't necessarily mean everything. So I do think he's going to be a reliable fantasy guy, but I don't think he's going to be, like, in top 10 wide receivers at the end of the season.
Yeah.
I'm worried. For that whole... I don't know if there's something wrong with him and Derek Carr or just something. They put up 48 points and he didn't get a single touchdown. I mean, maybe it's just because their running game, which is really good, but if they have a good running game.
But Derek Carr was throwing the ball. I mean,
Derek Carr actually had 3 or 4 touchdowns.
He was throwing the ball, but he loved Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah.
Way more. Mm-hmm. So I think I am worried for Chris Olave.
I'm 50-50 on it. Here's the thing. Face the Panthers. Panthers are a really bad team. However, they do have a guy named J.C. Horn, which is one of the best cornerbacks in the league, and he was guarding Olave for a decent bit of that game. So it did make sense going to a guy like Shaheed more. The thing that does worry me is, though, there's a new offensive coordinator in here. And for people who don't know, it's Kubiak, who came from the San Francisco 49ers last year. What does the 49ers offense kind of look like? CMC, a receiving back that they use a lot in the run game, and they love to just dump it off to him. Who had a really good game this week? Alvin Kamara. They really love to use Kamara.
Yeah.
As for more of like a back to the 49ers offense. Who's Debo? A very big gadget guy. He was basically their best fantasy option because they liked using run games, jet sweeps, motions, deep shots. Who's kind of more like that in that offense? Again, like a Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah.
So, yes, there's a guy like Ayuk, so that could be like Olave in this offense, so I think he could step it up. But I am honestly more focused on the guys like Ayuk, and I think, or not Ayuk, sorry, Kamara, and then obviously I think Shaheed honestly is a really good pick.
Yeah.
I don't think he was a one-week wonder. I think he will be used a lot in this Kubiak offense.
I agree.
So now let's go to the next one, and this one's just a broader one actually itself. It's just tight ends. Tight ends sucked. For lack of a better word, week 1, Isaiah Likely was the tight end 1. I don't remember who the tight end 2 was, but it was not a very big name.
We just delete tight ends from fantasy altogether. I'm just tired of them.
Like everyone talks about like we need to get rid of kickers or defenses. Honestly, the tight ends are sucking worse right now.
Yeah, Brock Bowers is the 4th tight end in fantasy points.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly. So Kelsey, 6 points. Andrews, 3 points. Ingram, 0 points. And then Dalton Kincaid, 2.1.
Wow.
So a lot of the big, and even Laporta himself got 8. So all these guys that were going high in fantasy drafts, they sucked. What is y'all's thought process of this? My thought process specifically is that new rule that we saw in that Thursday Night Football game against the Ravens and the Chiefs about the offensive line, how they have to set up, how they can't set up as, like, I don't know the exact technical term for it, but as far back they have to line up more flat, I think is going to mean more tight ends have to be blocking for protection. And so that is where I'm a little worried with tight ends. I think not as much as, like, I mean, I don't know how much Kelsey and them are going to block, but maybe they're going to be off the field a little bit more because tight ends are going to have to block.
Yeah.
So what do y'all think? Are y'all worried about them, or is it just a weird week 1 fluke and we'll get these guys back to studs?
I think some of them are a weird week 1 fluke, but who I am really worried about is Travis Kelsey. I said this all the last half of the last year. Honestly, I think he's falling off. I think this is his last year was his year to fall off, and now this year he's gonna kind of plateau. I'm not gonna say he's not gonna have good games, but I just think he's getting to that point where he's just getting a little old. He's no longer in the week 1 Chiefs game. He was not Patrick's go-to guy, not at all. You didn't see him.
Rice now.
Exactly, or Xavier Worthy. I mean, Patrick has so many new weapons that honestly, I mean, he's of course still going to find Kelsey in some aspects, but I think it's going to be a drastic difference from what we saw just the years before, where he's like clear-cut tight end 1.
Yeah.
As a Sam Laporta owner, I'm not real worried because he got 8.5 fantasy points, which is okay.
Yeah.
But I'm not real worried because, I mean, with the new rule, yes, they're going to have to be blocking more, but that also makes them more feasible to the pass because they could just fake block.
The release, yeah.
Seam right there. So I think the offices just need to get a grip
Yeah.
on what they have and then have the O-line adjust and then have the tight ends do something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tight ends generally are just like hit or miss sometimes weeks in fantasies. And this is like a normal thing, I think, honestly, that sometimes teams game plan to use their tight end a lot, and sometimes depending on the matchup, they game plan to not use their tight end a lot, and that can just be how it is.
Yeah. Now we got 2 more guys I want to quickly run through before we go to our first commercial break of the show. Real quick, let's talk about Drake London. So now Drake London had a bad game. He had 3.5 points, but I think the most concerning part was Kirk looked a little bad. His Achilles did not look like it was 100% in that game. He came out after the game and said he had a bad game, but it wasn't injury fault. But I don't know how much I believe that. So what are y'all's thoughts on London? Is he going to get back to going, or is Kirk worrisome, or what do you guys got?
I'm not worried about this. I do think that as much as Kirk wants to say he maybe is not like reeling from injuries or whatever, it does take just a little bit of like adjustment, especially after Achilles injury, to come back and to be the same guy you were. So to me, it's completely normal that he had a little bit of an off game week 1, and I still think Drake London's going to be his number 1 target. I mean, also we can't talk about though, Kyle Pitts had a big game, so he could be seen as like number 1 too, but I think going forward, Drake London's going to have better games after this.
I don't think it was injury related, his performance, because I mean he was moving with the ball pretty well, but he just couldn't throw the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, he had 2-3 picks that game.
I think it was 2, yeah.
Yeah. It's just he's getting old.
Yeah.
He's not in his prime for sure. And I just feel like also Drake London's not a top receiver. Even at his best, he's not a top receiver.
Yeah.
So I just I feel like there's better options. Kyle Pitts, he's finally getting his touchdowns.
Yeah.
So I think there's better options. So I'm real worried about Drake London and his future in general.
I will say another like point that we didn't talk about. They were facing the Steelers. That is a really tough defense. You got T.J. Watt. They just added in Patrick Queen this offseason. And London himself was having to get matched up against Joey Porter Jr. a lot, who is a really young, good cornerback. So that could factor into it, but I do agree with you that even at his peak, I don't see London as this really top guy. And where he was going in fantasy drafts especially, don't love him. So if he's still got a lot of value and you can trade him in your fantasy leagues, I'd probably lean towards that option if you could.
Honestly, Chris Olave and Drake London are like so synonymous in my mind, like of like people hyping them up so much and them underperforming a lot.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even know how those guys were going in the second round of fantasy drafts. Like, I did not pick one of those guys in any of my leagues because they were just going way too high.
Yeah.
But now the final guy we got to get to real quick is Brandon Ayuk. He got a bag. He was actually your 0 for last week, so correct pick there for you, Alyssa.
Wow.
But what do y'all think about him? He only got 4.8 points. He had a bad game. He dropped that touchdown, but it was against the Jets. So what do y'all think?
I'm worried for him for the first half of the season. I think he's going to have a rough first half, but honestly, as much as I said he was going to be my 0 for this past week, he was facing the Jets. They have a very tough secondary. I think that Ayuk's completely going to bounce back from this, and he's going to have those huge weeks where he's going to be that number one guy that they hit on go routes just every time. And when people are shutting down Debo, he is that next guy. He's the next option. The 49ers offense is insane per usual. It's going to be like that. I think maybe Ayuk might have a couple weeks just adjusting, especially because he held out for so long. But honestly, not really that worried. I just thought he was going to do bad week 1, and he did. So
Yeah.
So you're saying I can complain about being the top receiver in the league and then drop an open pass in the touchdown and get money? I would love to do that. Oh my gosh. No, he's a pretty boy. He's a pretty boy. And I don't like the way he treated this offseason because offseason is for practice.
Yeah.
And he didn't show up to any of them.
Yeah.
That's why he dropped that football.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't practiced that catch.
Yeah, and even just that, not even just that football, like the entire game, he's had a bad game. Like he just had an overall bad game. Yes, it was against the Jets secondary, one of the best secondaries, if not the best secondary in the league. But I don't feel like that's an excuse. And also, just again, I'd be worried about him just because it is such a stacked San Francisco offense.
Yeah.
That was without CMC. And they still showed that they are wanting to stick true to running the ball. They ran it like 25 times with Mason in that game. And on top of that, you still got Debo, you still got Kittle. There's a lot of talent. But now, real quickly, we are actually going to head to commercial break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about some hot takes and we're going to get into some more fantasy football stuff.
Ace in the Bowl salsa started many, many years ago. I was trying to find a recipe to take to a family gathering, and so I started messing around with different recipes, and I took a little bit from here and a little bit from there, and I came up with a salsa that is truly unique. Ace in the Bowl salsa is an olive oil-based salsa with tomatoes, green chilies, green onions, and black olives. There's no sugar added, it's gluten-free, low calorie, low carb, low fat, low sodium. So it's a very, very, very good alternative to any snack you may want. As of right now, I'm just looking to be in Oklahoma and having a successful business within the state. If my grandkids could ever take it over when they're old enough, that would be my dream.
Welcome back into We Know Ball. Now, right before the commercial break, we were talking about some overreaction, some guys that did good, some guys that did bad. Now let's go into some hot takes. Let's go into some hot takes that we've either developed from week 1 or just some more season-long stuff we want to talk about. So, Liz, do you want to kick it off? What is your biggest hot take you got right now?
Okay, so I got flamed for my hot take last week, but
Yeah.
this one I feel a little bit more confident about. You, some people might not agree. My hot take is the Buccaneers are going to finish as a top 10, maybe top 5 offense. And I just think, okay, so I think Baker Mayfield is back. He was going off last week. 4 touchdowns, 289 yards. He had a 146.4 quarterback rating, which is huge. They got the win over the Commanders. They finished 23rd overall in offense last year, but now they are all settled in. They have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Rashad Rashad Owens, I think they're all dogs.
Rashad
White, that's my bad. Rashad Owens is an Oklahoma State football player. I'm so sorry. Anyways, I think that their offense is just kind of unbeatable in that way. Those two wide receivers are ageless, and Baker Mayfield just looks like he's slinging the ball all over the place, and I think their offense is just going to be insane this year.
You want to take this, Mason, or me?
What?
Like talking about it. You got it?
Oh,
No,
okay.
Well, I just have one comment. Somebody at the Stats made fun of me for drafting Chris Godwin.
Was it me? I don't even remember.
It
Yeah,
was
I
you.
probably.
It was
Okay.
you.
Okay.
I want to speak on that.
Well, I still okay. So here's what I'm gonna say. I still stand by. I kind of disagree. I'm not gonna lie, which is the point of hot
Okay,
take.
fair.
My big reasoning for it is.
I agree, by the way. Listen.
Okay, cool. I disagree just for the fact that the Commanders are by far, like far and away, the worst secondary in football, like in National Football League. Maybe the Lions are up there. I think the Lions got better this offseason, though. But the Commanders, like, that's why I picked Mike Evans as my hero last week, because I knew they would absolutely just pick apart this Washington secondary. Like, it's what everyone does. My worry for them is Rashad White looked really rough on the ground. Bucky Irving actually looked pretty good. So if he can come in and step up, I think their run game could be good. But I think the lack of a run game might hurt them. Now, I'm not saying you're going to be wrong. I think they'll probably be around 15, like 10 to 15. So I can see them maybe sneaking that top 10 range.
Okay.
But I'm a little worried again with Dave Canales leaving for Panthers, or like their offense coordinator leaving. And then again, just the fact that it was an easy matchup. That worries me a little bit.
That's fair. That is fair. But still, I mean, they're still an NFL secondary. All NFL secondaries are hard to deal with, and they put up 37 points. And I just really like Baker. I don't know. I just think he's going to do good
I
this year.
love
So-
Baker.
That is fair. I like Baker. Since the progressive commercials with like defending his house with the Browns, I've been a Baker fan. I'm not going to lie. Which I know we're probably not supposed to say as OSU students, but like,
Right.
it's fine.
Definitely not Oklahoma.
Yeah. Now, Mason, what do you got for your hot take? Oh no, I'm scared.
I'm also scared.
This smile is scary.
My hot take is the Cardinals will still not be good.
Okay.
And I know.
What is not good?
no,
Define.
he's doing this to make me mad because we talked about this all
Like
Sunday.
sitting at 5 to 12 range, 4 to 13 range, just because Kyler Murray is still not good.
Okay,
That's the main point I'm trying to make. Kyler Murray is not good. He is not good.
I strongly
agree.
disagree.
I don't care. He's not good. He's short. He can't see over. He can't see over his own line.
That's why he runs around him.
Yeah, he runs around
Yeah, that's
him.
why he's
and what
putting
is
up a bunch of rushing yards and passing yards every game.
Well, what did he do most of that game? He threw to his check down, James Conner in the flat.
I mean, yeah,
because
but
he would just scramble out. He would just, oh, here you go.
I mean,
here you go.
if you watch the game, his passes to Dortch were really good. He was finding gaps in the zone to Dortch, and then his passes to McBride were like 2 or 3 of them. He got outside the pocket, scrambled outside, and made a play 10 plus yards down the
He
field.
had 162 passing yards, which isn't crazy, but it was going against the Rams defense.
It was the Bills.
The Bills defense, yeah. And we just talked about how the Bills secondary is better than we all thought they were.
Also, I feel like stats are very misleading because we talked about this because we watched the game together on Sunday. He had basically all that in the first half, and so it looks bad that maybe he didn't do much in the second half. In the second half, though, they really didn't get the ball. The Bills had scored like 3 touchdowns, had 3 really long drives. The Cardinals muffed a punt to where they couldn't even get the ball. Then the Cardinals also returned a kickoff for a touchdown, so the offense never got in the field. So there was, honestly, I don't even know how many times he touched the ball in the second half. Like, it was very minimal. So his stats do look bad. But again, we talked about Marvin Harrison's going to get better. I love McBride. Dortch, apparently he has chemistry with him. And then James Conner Benson's a really good backfield.
I understand, but if you have a 6'4", highly touted receiver, butt booty open,
All the way down the field.
to score, to tie the game,
Yeah.
you're not a good quarterback if you don't see that.
I will say I'm a little worried with his comments after the game saying it's not my job to get him the ball when
Yeah,
that's
that was
why it
really
literally is his
concerning.
job.
Your job is to read the field, and he's butt booty open.
That kind of like made me feel like Harrison's and Murray's relationship is like not good because like
Yeah.
if I heard my quarterback talking about me like that, I'd be like,
And
like
again,
why
to
are you not trying to give me the ball?
close out my hot take? If you have you're basically number one receiver, and you're one quarterback, they don't have good chemistry, you're not going to win games.
Okay, but he just got there.
Yeah.
They had a whole offseason.
I don't know. I had the Cardinals winning 9 games, which might be a little wild, but like, but I also had them beating the Bills, so now that would be 8 games. But
I have them settling in at 5 and 12.
okay.
Wow. Okay, I think they're massively going to like outdo that, but I don't think they're. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but I think they're going to outdo that record.
Yeah. But now I'm going to get into my hot take real quick. Mine's a little bit of an interesting one. I feel like it's very left field. No one's really going to expect this. My hot take specifically has to do with an O lineman, which is going to go wild. I think potentially the best offensive rookie in this offensive class, or in this like rookie class, might be Joe Alt.
Wow.
After that week 1 performance against the Raiders, now I know all the hype's been around Marvin Harrison.
Control Alt Delete, baby.
Exactly. He's already got a cold nickname. He looks like he's just got the composure of a 40-year-old out there already. And who in their right mind puts a rookie on an island with Max Crosby and he survives? Not a single quarterback pressure is let up by Joe Alt in the entire one-on-one matchups with Max Crosby.
Yeah.
That is insane. Like, for any tackle in the league, like if Trent Williams put those stats, it'd be posted and be like, look, this is why he's the best tackle in the league. A rookie did that in his first game.
Yeah.
So he's a rookie. He's an O-lineman. He's not going to get the attention. Obviously, there's no way an O-lineman would ever win Offensive Rookie of the Year. So I'm not even going to, like, make that take. But I'm just saying, Chargers made the right pick there, first and foremost, and he genuinely might be one of at least top 3 offensive players in this class, if not number 1, depending on, I guess, positional value. Yes, quarterbacks matter more, but pure skill, if you're doing that in your first week, I'm excited to see what happens.
Do you think he's going to be the next Quentin Nelson?
I feel like he's a tackle, so I would say more Trent Williams. But yes, I genuinely think he's going to be a guy that's in this league for 10 plus years and is stouted upon with multiple Pro Bowls, multiple All Pros. Like, again, no one goes up against Crosby and survives, and he did this in his first week.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was actually thinking, I had the thought of like wondering, I was like, I didn't see much of Max Crosby this weekend when I was watching on Sunday, but I honestly didn't make the connection that is because of Joe Alt.
Yeah.
So props to him. I totally agree. Like, if your hot take was that like he would be Offensive Rookie of the Year, we obviously know that's not true because they're not going to give that.
It's a media
They want
award.
it to be a flashy. They want it to be a flashy player. They want it to be a wide receiver. But I think it just speaks to the fact that other rookies besides those wide receivers that we thought were going to be the best thing since sliced bread are not, and they're not performing in week 1 like some other people are, like our Joe Alts.
Yeah, and so I feel like shout out for the Chargers. It wasn't the flashy pick to go with Joe Alt. Like, again, probably a lot of the fan base would have preferred they went Neighbors there, preferred they went Odunze there. But Alt was the right pick here. And just, again, his impact week 1 to just get Herbert time. You're trying, like, there's nothing more important than the quarterback position. Well, guess whose job is to protect him? The O-line. If you don't got that, you're going to get an injured quarterback. And he did a great job.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
But now, let's move on from our hot takes. Let's go to Hero Zero. We love Hero Zero. It's a great segment. Last week, we went 3-3. Alyssa, you went 1-1. Your hero was Tyler Conklin. 1 point.
Yeah.
But
we don't
Brendan
talk about
Ayuk was
that.
your zero. It hit. As for me, I went 2 for 2. Mike Evans got 23 points, outperformed his projection by 9 points, and then Christian Watson got 10 points, underperformed his projection by 3 for my zero. So both those hit. Mason, your hero, Malik Neighbors, went 3 under projection. It did not hit. And then your zero was Saquon Barkley, who scored 33 fantasy
Zero
points.
quite literally did opposite.
If you said that was your hero.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So, redemption this week. Redemption. So I'm actually going to let you kick it off with your hero this week. For redemption, what do you got?
All right, for redemption, I'm going with a running back. I'm going with Brian Robinson Jr.
Okay.
From the Commanders. They're
You
playing,
like the NFC East for some reason. Neighbors, Barkley, and now Brian Robinson.
They're playing the Giants. They are notoriously known to have the worst run defense in the league. So, see him, and he also scored 18 fantasy points last week.
Yeah.
See him to do almost the same. And then my zero, any Saints receiver this week. Cowboys have the pinnacle of pass defenses, and I feel like we saw that against Amari Cooper last week, and I feel like we're going to see that again with Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed.
So you picking both of them, just Olave and Shaheed?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You know what? I rate it. I like. You already saw the Diggs clip about him talking about they're like, Olave, what's like? He's gonna give you trouble on Sunday, and he was like, "Are you joking?" Like,
Yeah.
no. So, Alyssa, what do you got?
All right, so for my hero, I have Colby Parkinson, which is a name that some people may not know. But he is, for right now, the starting tight end for the Los Angeles Rams because Tyler Higbee is on PUP with a knee injury. And last week, he caught 4 balls, put up 47 yards, and scored 8.7 fantasy points, which isn't a ton. But I'm projecting that he's going to do better this coming week. And Puka Nacua went down with an injury. So Matthew Stafford has less options to throw the ball to. This week, he's projected at 8.2 against Arizona, and I think he's going to score a touchdown and go further than that.
Okay.
Yeah. So then my zero is this one has a little bit of personal ties to it. My zero for the week is Devontae Adams, wide receiver for the Raiders. Last year I had him on my fantasy team, and it was 0 after 0 after 0 after 0 week, and he was not doing good in my lineup. And this week, I think he's going to do the same. Last week, he didn't do much. He got the ball 5 times, 59 yards, 10.9 fantasy points. That's not enough for Devontae Adams. That's simply not even. And this isn't about who he is as a player. He's way better than that as a player. We know that. But he's playing with Gardner Minshew. Yeah. But his matchup this week is against the Baltimore Ravens, who we saw them put up a good defensive performance against the Chiefs, even though the Chiefs won. He's projected at 15.8. I think he's going to massively underperform in that area.
Yeah, I can see it. Now, I'm going to go for mine. I've got rookies on both sides of this week. I've got a hero that's a rookie and a zero that's a rookie. My hero, first and foremost, is going to be Lad McConkey. Okay, so I guess I'm just a Chargers fan on this episode because I was talking high about Joe Alt, now I'm talking high about McConkey.
He was my second option. So
okay, that's good. He he had a really good week 1. Like it was like 5 catches, close to 40 yards, and a touchdown. Really so like I mean, it was like I think 15 fantasy points, like pretty good. But now he's facing the Panthers. Like we saw the Saints just put up 40 plus yards on these, or 40 plus points on these Panthers last week. I think it's going to be a really, really big game for the Chargers offense. And yes, they're going to run the ball a lot, but if they throw the ball, it seems like Herbert liked McConkey more than those other options this past week. So I think he's going to have a good week. I think if you need a flex play for the week, I think he's a good option. As for my zero, this may catch some flack. We'll see, but I'm going with the rookie. I'm going with Xavier Worthy.
Wow.
So Xavier Worthy, obviously, as we all know, scored like 21 points in his debut as a Chief last week.
Yeah.
Only 3 touches. He had 3 touches for 2 touchdowns. And I just really don't see that type of production, that type of volume continuing. I know you're a Travis Kelce hater too, but I still believe in Travis Kelce too. Travis Kelce was not very involved in that offense week 1. I think he's only going to get more involved this week, especially because that little Chiefs-Bengals rivalry. Kelce's going to want to get more involved in that game. Rice is obviously Mahomes' favorite option. Pacheco is going to get tons of volume. I just really don't see Worthy getting but 2 or 3 touches again this game. Even if he finds the end zone on one of those, he may barely get 10 points. But if he doesn't find the end zone at all, he's getting 4 or 5 fantasy points. So I'm very much against Worthy this week. And obviously, the Bengals already seem like they hate him. They're already coming out talking crap about him. Like, what can he do with being fast? Now, that might piss him off. But at the same time, I feel like that means they're respecting him. They're going to game plan him. They're going to make sure this kid just stays fast and doesn't expose them. So that's what I got as my zero for the week. So we'll see. But now, let's move over to college football, okay? This was a segment we wanted to do last week.
Yeah.
Didn't have time for it. This week, we're making time for it. It's called Big 12 Bowling, okay? So basically, what the segment is, we're going to go through the 16 teams as quick as possible because there is 16 teams, and just say whether or not we think they will be able to make a bowl game or not. Last year, the Big 12, I think it was 6-6, made the bowl game, or 7-7, made the bowl game, didn't. There's 16 teams, so somewhere around 500 usually what happens. We got 16 teams to go through. Let's start in alphabetical order with the Arizona Wildcats. This one should be easy. What do y'all got?
They're making a bowl game for sure.
Yeah. I feel like this one we don't even have to debate much. Arizona's making a bowl game. They've looked a little suspect actually last week, but they're going to make a bowl game. Next off, Arizona State. They went 3-9 last year.
I think they are. That's actually my hot take for
I
this
have
whole entire
yes
thing.
as well.
They've started 3-0. They've had a honestly huge start. Their running back Cam Scadaboo,
I think. Yeah,
Scadaboo.
I don't know.
I really like him. I think that they're kind of the Big 12 sleeper that everyone was looking for. So I have Arizona State making a bowl game for sure.
I actually agree. So I put down their tough games. They faced Mississippi State, Kansas, Utah, OSU, UCF, Kansas State, Arizona. That's 7 hard games. They already won one of them. So even if they lose the other 6 and go 6-6, they make a bowl game.
Yep.
So I think Arizona State makes a bowl game. Now,
I feel like they dropped some of those easy games, though.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, but again, 3-0, they only got to get 3 more now. They just have to get 3 more. So we'll see. Let's head to Baylor. Let's head to Waco. Baylor Bears, what do y'all got?
Heck no.
No bowling for them.
I've got a no for Baylor as well. I just don't believe in
Finn
him.
is not the next quarterback for Baylor.
I agree. It's
The
just
decline of Baylor football is truly sad.
it actually is
No,
crazy.
it's very funny.
But it
I
is
love it.
amazing.
No, it's not sad for me.
As OSU fans, obviously the heartbreaking like 3 years ago in AT&T Stadium, them beating us in the Big 12
I think
championship.
that was the last time they were good.
That was the last time they were good. So I'm really happy to see the downfall. Last year they went 5-7, didn't make a bowl game. This year 5-7 is honestly their peak in my opinion.
Yeah.
So now let's move on. Another easy one, Cincinnati. Now.
Nope. They're still going to take a while to just adjust to the Big 12. I think their talent level is just not even on our plane yet.
You're scaring me.
Yes.
Yours. But
I will defend him for a second real quick. One thing I do like about Cincinnati, they don't face Utah, Arizona, Kansas, or Oklahoma State. They avoid honestly the 4 biggest except for Kansas State. However, I don't even think they can win against the TCUs and Techs and Baylors, so I still have them not making it. But is that why you have them?
I have them better than TCU, and I have them right now better than Tech. I don't know how they're going to perform later on, but right now better than Tech. So, yeah, I can see them winning those games.
Okay. Now, this one should be fun. Colorado, I got no.
I got no.
Yes.
Whoa.
Okay.
I feel like they have the same hype from last year, and we saw how last year went. But I feel like they just have a little bit better team. I'm not saying they're gonna go 10-2 or 9-3, but I'm saying they do make a bowl game.
Here's my problem. They have by far the toughest schedule of all the Big 12 teams. They've already lost to Nebraska. They've got Colorado State this week, which they could lose to. Then they face K-State, Arizona, Utah, Kansas, OSU, and UCF. In my opinion, the top 6 in the Big 12, they face all of them.
That is very true.
Yeah.
But
I think there's potential.
But is it perfect timing? Is it?
There's potential at the timing with the players they have, but I don't. Like you said, that schedule is brutal, and they didn't look good against Nebraska. So
Yeah.
I mean, Nebraska's a good team, but
Still, yeah. Now let's move on to Houston. We got Houston next. Played a close game against OU last week. What do y'all think?
no.
I don't have them winning a bowl.
I got no as well. They just got a tough schedule. I mean, I think that was just a bad game from OU, not a good game from Houston.
Yeah.
Next off, we got Iowa State.
I think yes.
Mason. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What
No,
do you
you're
got?
good. I think a lot of people were actually looking at them as kind of a sleeper for this league too. And Rocco Becht, they have a good rushing attack. I think they're gonna give some Big 12 teams, maybe even other ones this year, a run for their money.
Yeah, I mean, that game winner in Connect Stadium was a huge win for their program.
Yeah. I'm going to go the opposite, though. This is my hot take, and I've got no.
Wow.
I'm not an Iowa State fan this year. I had them losing to Iowa, though, so that might change my math. So maybe they will win 6 games now. But they have they're the other one with a tough schedule. They've got Utah, Kansas, K-State, UCF, West Virginia. They had Iowa, Tech, and Baylor. Like, they've got a lot of games in there they could lose. I'm not a big Rocco Becht fan. I'm not going to lie. So
Fair.
That's my hot take a little bit. Next up, we got Kansas. I think we're all just going to say yes.
Yes, I'm saying yes, but I'm also saying I'm a little scared for them. I mean, I think they're still going to make a bowl game, but just to say that losing their loss last week and their game before that, they haven't looked as good as everyone has said they're going to look. Like top 3 in the Big 12, I don't really think they are. So
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they're a little suspect, but they're going to win 6 games at
Right.
least. K-State, yes.
yes, obviously.
Yeah. Okay. Oklahoma State, yes. They're going undefeated. I'm kidding. But we're winning 6 games pretty easily.
Oh, for sure.
TCU, I've got yes.
I have yes too.
I know.
I just think with their schedule, I liked their schedule that they had. They didn't have as many tough games as a lot of other Big 12 teams.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of big teams, but they don't have a lot of big talent.
Yeah.
I like
don't
their
know.
running back.
I was going to say, I like their running back.
back's pretty good.
And I don't know. I just believe in them. Some team had to do it, win 6 games. There's going to be a lot of 50-50 games between them, Tech, all those like middle ground teams, and I think TCU is the one that comes out of there.
Yeah, I think they're definitely a middle ground team, but I think they pull over maybe 7 wins.
Yeah. But again, all you need is 6 wins to make a bowl game. So
Yeah, going to that next team, Texas Tech, I
Yeah.
have them winning, so that's why I have TCU as a no.
Okay, so
I
you
have them going to a bowl game.
you have Tech as yes?
I have Tech as no.
I have Tech as no.
They've looked absolutely rough this year.
They have. That
Very
first
rough.
week against, what was it, Abilene Christian?
Yes,
Was that who it was?
they almost lost against Abilene Christian.
Okay, Abilene Christian is a very good FCS team. Do not.
They just lost to.
on
Then they
Abilene
just lost to
Christian.
Washington State, 37-16.
Washington State also is decent. Like, they're actually a
Washington
pretty good
State
team.
is
But still, I'm still with you. I don't think they've looked too suspect these first 2 weeks. I love Tajay Brooks. I love Kelly, the receiver, but just, I don't know. Something about their team's not clicking right now.
They play Arizona State, Arizona, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, and TCU, West Virginia.
And even Colorado. I mean, like,
Yeah.
again, we're not high on Colorado, but I could see Colorado winning that game.
Honestly, I don't see them winning like 4 out of 6 of those games.
Yeah, I think they're a 4 to 5
Wow.
win team.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You guys
I'm putting disrespect on Texas Tech's
Yep.
name.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Now, these,
All right, you see.
these last 3 should be pretty easy. We got Utah.
Yes.
Obviously, yes.
Yes.
Rising or
Ooh,
not,
yeah.
even with no rising, they get 6 wins.
Well,
they
yeah,
did it last
yeah,
year with no
but-
rising. Yeah.
I'm very excited to see that Oklahoma State game, no rising.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They said
That'll
they
be
said
interesting.
they said he's not playing this weekend. They've said he's looking to return for the Oklahoma State game,
But
but
if
that
he's
still
not
has
100%.
him not. Yeah, like you said, not 100%. Could be dealing with some lingering injury issues. So hopefully that makes a good game for us.
Yeah. Now we got West Virginia real quick, and I'll go back to the other team. West Virginia, I got yes.
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 Garrett Green's a dog.
Yep.
I love their
He's
coach.
really,
Yep.
Just a good program.
They're a good team this year.
Last team, though. This is an interesting one. UCF. I
Yes.
got yes.
I have yes too.
Okay, I'm glad we all agree there. UCF is my sleeper team. They're my team that I think somehow when one of those big teams falls in some big matchups, I think they could genuinely end 3rd or 4th in the Big 12.
KJ
Yeah.
Jefferson made a huge turnaround from Arkansas.
Yes,
Yeah.
but honestly, it's not even Jefferson in general. I love their running backs.
Yeah.
Harvey
RJ
looks
Harvey
amazing.
and
Benny Boone looks
yeah.
amazing. I love Kobe Hudson, the receiver.
Yeah.
This team has been killing it first 2 weeks. Again, they haven't had great competition, but no one's talking about them.
But did we see them play Oklahoma State last year? They went crazy without
Yeah.
even KJ Jefferson. Add
Exactly.
that. I think they're just kind of one of those gadget teams that you have no idea what you're going to expect that you could just drop a loss to so easily.
Yeah.
Okay, now, before we wrap up the show, that was our Big 12 bowling. We got all those teams. What, did I miss someone?
I think you missed BYU.
Oh, did I did skip BYU.
Wow.
I don't even know how I skipped BYU. Okay,
Religious
BYU.
discrimination is crazy.
Yeah. Don't cancel me, please, Mormons. BYU, I got no.
No.
They're not a good football team. I'm sorry. That's just
Maybe
facts.
now we're canceled. No, they're just not a good football team. That point blank. That's
Period.
it. Yeah. I was trying to figure out what the last word was.
Point blank period.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have a graphic up. I'll tally up what our final score was, and I'll display it on the screen right now. But now let's move over to Oklahoma State. We don't got much time left in this show, so let's quickly wrap things up. Let's talk about Arkansas game a little bit, and then let's get our predictions for Tulsa. So what are y'all's thoughts on Arkansas game first?
Arkansas had 600 plus total yards, and they still couldn't find out a way to win that game.
Yeah.
That's just. I don't really know what that speaks highly of us because we let up 600 plus yards, but I think it kind of speaks highly on our offense and what our offense can produce with the chances we're given. Of course, we did miss that field goal, and then we went into overtime. We had a great time with the football. Without the football, we had a tough time. They kept running crossers across the field the whole time. Easy completions after easy completions for the transfer. The run game too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Arkansas's run game is crazy.
Yeah. I think one thing that stood out to me was that our defense is able to force turnovers. They did a great job of that, and they saved us so many times with that. But our defense cannot defend against big plays at all. The amount of big plays we gave up, specifically just big routes down the open field, was insane. And I think
Arkansas's last touchdown.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Just like totally, it just looks like busts in coverage, like all over the place. And so it's great. It's great that you can turn over the ball. It's great that you can force a fumble. But if we can't defend the pass game, you're not going to like pull off wins like this. We're not going to be able to pull off wins where this is not going to happen again. This
One
doesn't
interception
happen.
was very lucky off of him getting hit.
Oh, yeah. So, honestly, I am a little worried. That was like a very suspect win. Honestly, again, I think Arkansas lost that game. We didn't win
Yeah.
it. Arkansas
No,
lost it.
We didn't really deserve
Defense did do a good job forcing turnovers. It was a really weirdly bad game for Ollie, so we're hoping he can bounce back this week. But we don't got much time left in the show, so let's wrap up on Arkansas. Let's just go into Tulsa, OSU versus Tulsa. What's y'all's predictions? We've won now, I think we've won 9 straight. We're 20-point favorites going into this game. But the last 2 matchups have been a little close. So what do y'all think?
I think that our offense is going to bounce back. One thing that we didn't talk about in the Arkansas game is that Brennan Presley had a game. He was crazy. He's just Alan Bowman's number one guy, and he can make plays when we are down and out. And I think he's going to go crazy against this game in Tulsa. Also, I don't know if a lot of people talked about this, but his brother is a wide receiver on Tulsa's football team who used to play for Oklahoma State. So
not
a
know that.
little nugget storyline for you there. But I think the score is going to be like 41-13. We're going to win.
Okay. Can we talk about how Tulsa, week 0, I don't know what week it was, they played Northwestern State. They were tied with them 14-14 at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah.
South Alabama beat Northwestern State 87-17.
Wait, that was that team?
Yes.
Oh, my. And then now Tulsa lost last week to it was Arkansas State, I think? Yeah, they lost to
I believe
Arkansas
so,
State last week. So they've not played good competition, and they've played poorly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm going to score predictions. I'm going to do Oklahoma State 42, Tulsa 14.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're pretty similar on that.
Honestly, yeah, we're all pretty similar. I've got Tulsa getting a little more just because I don't trust our defense, but I've got us I think we're going to get 50. I've got 51-21. I think looking at previous OSU matchups, this Oklahoma State team, except for these last 2 times, 59, 59, 65 were 3 of the last 5
Wow.
matchups. We put up points against Tulsa when we faced them, and honestly, for some reason, we put up more points when we play in Tulsa than in Stillwater. So we've been doing good when we go on the road and face Tulsa, so 51-21 is what I got. Now, we're out of time, so that's all we got for this week's episode. Thank y'all again for joining me, and we hope y'all tune in next week for We Know Ball.